And back to the phones we go. This is Andy in Jacksonville, Florida. Hey, Andy, great to have you on the program. Hi.
Well, thank you, sir. Rush, my biggest fear is Donald's not taking this seriously, and he's not taking the campaign seriously. We would love him to run. We would love him to win. We all want him to. But I don't think his heart's in the right place.
Let me guess. I'm going to take a wild guess as to why you're worried and why you might think that he's not taking this seriously. And the guess is that you're really upset about the Twitter stuff every night.
Nah, I don't give a rat's butt about the Twitter stuff.
You don't care about that?
No, I don't. I just think that the guy, I love him to death. We all talk about him. We all want, all my friends do anyway. And
well, then what makes you think he's not serious?
I think he's a rich man that's got way too much stuff on his plate or got other stuff on his plate. The president thing is I wouldn't say a charade, but I don't think it's the first thing on his mind when he wakes up in the morning.
Okay, but there has to be a reason why you think this. Is it, or maybe you're harboring a fear that it's not real, that it's all just a lark.
I am harboring the fear that it's not real. That's exactly right.
But you can't put your finger on why. It's just he seems so against type. He's so not a politician, and he's all.
No, he's not. And he can. I'm sure he can do the job. I'm sure he can do the job.
Well, I think that's why you like him,
than
right?
A lot of other people, but I don't know that his heart is really in it. It may be just the showman in him. I don't know.
You don't know whether his heart is in it. It's just he's just a showman and is entertaining himself with this.
That's exactly right.
Just seeing how big a rise he can get out of people, and then when he gets filled and tired of it, then move on to something else. Build another building in Beijing.
Once again, you are exactly right.
Well, I know you're asking me if I happen to agree with you. I don't know. I'm one of the people, if you go back and look, I said he'd never get in. As recently as a few days before he got in, I didn't think he would actually pull the trigger and do it. I thought it was what it's always been, publicity for his TV show, The Apprentice, and for whatever else he needs publicity. The guy is into a lot. I mean, there's Trump-branded everything out there. There's Trump-branded vodka. He stole my tie idea. Now, wait till he hears that. No, he's got his own brand neckties. He's got his own brand of, there's all kinds of stuff out there. And it's some of that stuff was sold in Macy's. And that's why Macy's did their 180 on him early on with the comments on the Mexicans. Look, I can't tell you for sure that I'm confident he's going to stay in or get out. I'm like you. I'm just watching it go by every day and commenting on it as it happens. I, like everybody else, this Trump and his legitimate performance and his status as the front runner, nobody could have predicted that. And nobody did predict it. And I don't care who tells you they did, they didn't. Nobody could have. I mean, some might have predicted he would get in. Nobody would predict that he would be number one in the polls, solid and growing from the day he announced, after having said the things that he has said, and then doubling down on the things everybody got mad at. The thing, Andy, that tells me he's serious about this is I have noticed not so subtle changes in the way Trump is going about this every day. He's not making flamboyant statements nearly as frequently and as profoundly as he did early on. He's still bombastic. He still goes out and does the "I'm the greatest, I'll be the greatest, it's going to be the greatest, we're the greatest," all of that, which is entertaining, and it's inspiring too to people who want it to be the case, and to people who believe that he can make it happen. But he is more and more issue-oriented and substantive each day. His answers to various questions now have a little bit more depth to them. And it's not, I don't think because he's had to study up on things. I think his approach is changing. You know, you have a sense of presence. Everybody does when you're a public figure. And if you're good, you know when it's time to transform and how to transform. You know how to anticipate people's expectations. And in the case of your critics, you know how to anticipate those and confound them. And I think every stage of the Trump campaign has been a shock to the people who have expected him to get out. I think, for example, now Trump is much more serious on all these things that he's discussing than his early critics even thought he could be. Early on, he was this bombastic, say-anything violator of political correctness, wasn't serious about it, doing and saying things just to get noticed, but couldn't tell you anything about foreign leaders, couldn't tell you about what was going on in the Middle East, didn't know about fracking, didn't know. Turns out he can tell you anything you want to know about this stuff or confidently explain to you that he will find out. And I've noticed a transformation in Trump that's more and more, I don't want to say presidential, because now he has a fine line to walk. I mean, his original support is based on his being outsider and fearless, outspoken outsider. So he's got to keep some of that up. But at the same time, people have a vaunted respect and reverence for the office, and it's not to be played with, and it's not to be trifled with. And so he's got to go in both directions at the same time. Now, the reason I was thinking that maybe old Andy here was not thinking Trump was serious is because of this Twitter. And he goes in these Twitter binges at night that, well, they're funny. There's no question that they're funny, but many people think they're still petty. Some people think that they're childish. I mean, I hear a lot. If we had a caller, that woman who called and said, if he would just stop insulting people, he'd be at 40%. Well, now I've got people, if he just stopped tweeting every night, he'd be at 60%. But all these tweets, and it turns out that there have been journalists embedded with him, following him around, writing stories, and they're shocked. They're shocked the guy doesn't have a computer or a tablet in his office. He does all this tweeting at night on his Samsung Galaxy 6, 5, whatever it is that he's got. He just sits there and pecks that stuff out on his Samsung Galaxy keyboard. And then he sets it aside and goes about his business. But he does not have a computer. And he does not email. He does not email. He'll instant message. But every email that you get from him is going to come from somebody in his office. He sends out emails, but he doesn't do them. He doesn't have an email address. All of his people do. But when it comes to Twitter, Facebook, he's just in there.